Alrighty guys, so like I promised, I'm going to make a video going over the homework because I know this material is new and it's a little bit difficult to understand with me being gone. Now, one thing that I'm going to make note of is that this file that I'm doing this homework video on is a little bit different than the homework I actually gave y'all. I kind of edited it to print out to give y'all, but I don't have that version of it at my house. Right now what I have is the original version of the document, so there's going to be some slightly different looking things on this than your homework, but you should have all the questions I'm going to go over. There's just going to be some extra questions on here that I'm not going to go over, that I'm going to skip over, obviously, because they're not in your paper. Now I'm talking kind of quietly because I've got a sleeping baby right by me, so what y'all started doing while I was gone was y'all started learning how to graph what we call linear equations. Okay? Now remember, there's three forms of linear equations, and what we are learning about right now is what we call, right here, slope-intercept form. Kind of cut off right there. Slope-intercept form. Okay? Okay, so don't overthink this. All we're doing is we are creating equations that make lines, okay? Or we're doing the opposite, actually. We're looking at lines and we're writing what the equation is for such a line. Okay, now there's two things we have to know to make the equation for a line, and it's here. We have to know the slope. Let me get a color. We have to know the slope of a line and the y-intercept of a line. Okay, and now here's the good thing about we're using slope-intercept form, and that's in the name, right? We need slope, and we need intercept. Also, you'll hear a beep. Earlier this morning, our smoke detector battery went out, so I'm going to have to get one of those. So sorry if that's distracting. But we are going to be looking at these graphs and making the equation for such graphs. Okay, so that's all we're doing here. Now, there's two things we have to know. Like I said, we have to know the slope, and we have to know the y-intercept. Now, first, do you remember the layout for slope-intercept form? It's on your paper. It's right here. It's y equals mx plus b. Let's go ahead and write that up top right here. Y equals mx plus b. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, what it means is our m stands for the slope of a line, and our b stands for the y-intercept of a line. And for right now, x and y are just going to stay x and y, but we plug in numbers for m and for b. Now, by far the easiest one to tell when looking at a graph is what the y-intercept is. So do you remember, before I give the answer, do you remember what the y-intercept is? Well, remember, the y-intercept of a line, so this is the line we're looking at, the y-intercept is when this line on the graph crosses the y-axis. Now remember, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. So it's where this line crosses the y-axis. Well, it's very easy to see, right? It's just right here. It's where they intercept. You think about like football, where someone catches the ball where they intercept it. It's where this y-axis intercepts this line right here. Now, this is 1, right? This is the point. This is 1 on the y-axis. So the y-intercept is just going to be 1. Because remember, right here is 0. This is the origin. Okay, so going up 1. So being right here, that's 1 on the y-axis. Now the slope. Remember, the slope is how the line moves. So if this is our line right here, the slope is saying like, okay, the line is obviously going downwards. So if you remember from our notes from the other day, a line going downward has a slope that is negative. So go ahead and write negative. Like, think about it, if you could draw someone with a skateboard right here, and their skateboard would go downhill, that means it's a negative slope. Okay? So now the way to find it is, remember, slope is defined as rise over run. And what you need 2 points on this line. Well, lucky for us, we have a few. Okay, we have this point, we have this point, we have this point. And actually, it doesn't color it in, but we also have this point. You can tell it goes through right there. And we have this point. Now, to find the slope, all you need are 2 points. Okay, because this line is straight, so all you need are 2 points to find the slope. So let's pick this point, and let's just pick our y-intercept. That's a point. So to get from this point to this point, we have to go down and go over. Well, how much do we go down by? We go down by 1. Okay, so let's make that -1. Since we're going down, it's negative. Then we have to go over 2 spaces. Now, we don't make that negative. All we do is make, if we go up or down, if we go down, we make that first number negative. So our slope is negative 1 over 2. Negative 1 over 2. We're going to write it as a fraction. So if we get negative 1 over 2 as our slope, we're going to put that in for m. Then we get 1 as our y-intercept. We put that in for b. And we just make our equation, because the y and the x, for right now, just stay y and x. So that equation is going to be y equals, well, what's our slope? Okay, because we're going in for m. Our slope is negative 1 half. Then we put x. Now our y-intercept is positive 1, right? So we'll put plus 1. And that's our equation right there. Okay, hopefully this is starting to make some sense. I wish I was in person to teach this, but because I'm not, I have to make these videos. Now, that was the first one. We're going to go through the rest of these a bit quicker. I just had to explain everything again, just because I know it's been a couple days since y'all have had the video lesson I made. Remember, if you're ever confused, you can go back to the original video lesson I made, and I would really recommend doing that, because if you remember, we're not going to slow down. We got to keep going along. So consume everything that I make. Okay, if I make another video, make sure you watch it and all that. It'll really help out. Okay, let's look at the next one. So again, the easiest one to find is the y-intercept. So it's where the y-axis and our line cross. Well, where do they cross at? What point is that? Remember, that is our origin, isn't it? So what is the value of the origin? Well, it's 0, right? So what's our y-intercept? Well, our y-intercept is 0. Okay, so easy enough. Okay, now let's look at this line. Is this line going up, or is it going down? Well, it's going up, right? It's going up, isn't it? So is this a positive or negative slope? This is a positive slope. Think about it this way. It's positive if you put a person down kind of at the bottom and they have to climb their way up. That is a positive slope. Okay, now remember, to find the slope, you have to just get 2 points. You only need 2 points. And I'll just go ahead and use this point. Okay, this point right here. And then let's just use our y-intercept again. Okay, if you look here, there's no other points that work between here and here. Okay, then there's another point over here, but we're going to use these two. All right, so let's count how much it goes up. It goes up 1, 2, 3 spaces. Now it's going to be a positive 3, so positive slope. Then it goes over how many? 1, 2. It's over 2 spaces. So what is our slope? Well, our slope is 3 over 2. All right. Now remember, the layout for this is y equals mx plus b. So we'll keep y equals, well, what's our slope? Well, it is 3 over 2. Then we'll put x. Now, what is our y-intercept? It's plus 0, right? Well, here's the thing. Does putting plus 0 mean anything? It doesn't. So instead of putting plus 0, we're just going to leave that part blank. So what that means is if you ever see an equation, a linear equation, that does not have a plus or a minus anything, that means that the y-intercept is at the origin. That means it goes through at the origin. So this is all we need for our equation right here. Y equals 3 over 2x. This means that our line goes through the origin, and it has a slope of 3 over 2. Okay, let's do the next one. All right, so y-intercept, well, obviously it is right here. Now, what point is that? Now, that is negative, right? Because if this is our origin, if we go up, it's positive. If we go down, it's negative. It's kind of like a number line, or really think of it as like a thermometer. Okay, we're going down, it's negative, so this is negative 2. Okay, hopefully we know that. So our y-intercept is just negative 2. Now our slope, let's get 2 points. Okay, here's a point right here. Here's a point that's our y-intercept. We have that already. Okay, so are we going up or down? Well, we're going down, right? So we go down. So that's going to be negative. So our slope is negative 1 over 1, 2, 3. 3. So slope is negative 1 over 3. Now pause this real quick and try and write the equation. All right, well, the equation we know is going to be y equals, okay, always y equals, at least for right now. And then the slope is negative 1 over 3x. So be sure not to forget that negative. Okay, if you forget that negative, you're saying that it goes up 1 over 3. And that would make a line that looks like this. And that's not true, okay? That'd be making the incorrect line. Okay, and then so the y-intercept now is negative 2. So in this case, we're not going to put plus, right? Since it's a negative y-intercept, we will put minus 2. So if you were to look at this equation without the graph, you would know, if you were to make your own graph, that you want to put your y-intercept at negative 2. Okay, and then to make the line, you would go down 1 over 3. And you could make your own line based off of that equation. Okay, so a few more of these. And again, I honestly can't remember what your homework looks like based off this. So if there's some graphs I left off, obviously you don't have to do them. But I can't remember exactly what yours looks like, so I'm doing all of these. Okay, so y-intercept, that is -1, okay, because here's the origin. Okay, that is -1. Okay, y-intercept -1. Now, the next point I see is not until up here. Now, be careful. Sometimes a line will not give you its points. You have to go find them. And the way to find a point is it has to be when this line and then these grids all match up. So if you'll notice, that does happen right here. See how the grids match up? Oh, well, that's not good. So the grids match up, and then this line matches. They all connect in that corner. That's how you know you have a good point. Okay, and that's what we need. And this worksheet is giving you the points, so you don't really have to find them. But if you're given a worksheet where you have to find your points, that's what you would do. So the slope is obviously positive. We go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. So our slope is up 4 over 3. Now let's make the equation. Okay, hopefully this is becoming kind of, more familiar to us. We'll do y equals 4 over 3x plus or minus. Well, it's going to be minus, right? -1, because it's a y-intercept of -1. Okay, so we don't use plus all the time. It's only plus in this equation because think of the plus as a placeholder. You do plus if it's a positive y-intercept, but you do minus if it's a negative y-intercept. All right, so continuing on. Obviously going to be a negative slope. The y-intercept, though, is positive. So it's 1, 2, 3. So our y-intercept is 3. And then our slope is down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3. So down 3 over 3. But hold on, let's pause. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. -3 over 3. Can that simplify? A slope of -3 over 3? Well, yeah, of course, right? -3 over 3 simplifies. That's supposed to be an arrow right there. It simplifies to -1, doesn't it? Well, how do we make -1 a fraction? Well, -1 over 1, right? But that doesn't make sense. Is there a point? Well, actually, there is. If we were to start at that point and go down 1 over 1, like this slope says, that is the same thing, right? If I go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, I still stay on the line, don't I? Yeah, so what that means is that this slope, if a slope can be simplified, definitely simplify it, because the simplified slope will still be correct. It'll still keep you on that line. So we're going to use the slope of -1 over 1, or really, we're just going to do -1. If it doesn't have to be a fraction, we're not going to write it as a fraction. So the equation is y equals -1x. Okay, and then our y-intercept is positive, isn't it? Well, what's a simpler way to write that? Do you have to put a -1 in front of x? No, it's pretty much assumed, isn't it? So let's simplify it even more. Let's say we have y equals -x plus 3. Okay, and that is this line right here. Okay, it says y-intercept of 3, which we have, and then a slope of -1, which we have, down 1 over 1, just like that. Okay, let's do this last one on this page. Okay, so y-intercept is quite easy to see. That is a +1. Then our other point that we have is up here. Now this is obviously a positive slope. Okay, it's going up. You would have to climb upwards. So we go up 1, 2, 3, and we go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is our slope? Well, it is 3 over 4, right? So what's the equation? Y equals 3 over 4x plus 1. And there we have it. That's our equation for that. Okay, so that's this side of the page. Let me turn. I can't know what all's left on here. Okay, so I do know for a fact that I deleted some of these. I think I kept this on here. And if I didn't, just skip this part. But let's talk about this. Is asking, is the slope of all these lines positive, negative, 0, or undefined? This was in that video that I made. Okay, the first one. Well, that's pretty flat, isn't it? That first one, that's flat. If you can stand on that and not be swayed in either direction, that is a slope of 0. Okay, think of a floor. If there's no slope to the floor, it's perfectly flat, right? Yeah. Now, this one, if we were to go left to right, it is going downwards, isn't it? So that's negative. Okay, well then what's this one going to be? That's obviously positive, right? Positive slope. Now, we don't know what the slope is. We just know it's positive. Now, this last one is that word that I used the other day in the video. If you have a, excuse me, if you have a line that is going exactly vertically, okay, perfectly up and down, that is a slope of undefined. We don't really run into that often in Algebra 1, but we do need to be aware of that. Okay, we do need to be aware of that. I do not think I kept anything for section 4. If I did, do your best on it. I know I didn't do that one or that one. But this just says, looking at the equations, what is the slope and what is the y-intercept. So if I did keep any of those, the first one, the slope is just 4, and the y-intercept is -5. So you'd say m for the slope is 4, and b for the y-intercept is -5. That's all you have to do right there. Okay, now for these. What this is saying is we have a line that goes through these 2 points. Okay, think of a graph. We have a line that goes through the point 8, -7, which if I were to just estimate, maybe about right here. Okay, because it would be 8, then -7. Then if we had another point, 5, -3. Okay, 5 wouldn't be quite as far over than -3. So if we could kind of like estimate it, we're looking for a line, and you don't have to do this on these questions, but I want to show you what we're doing here. So we have a line that we can't see. Okay, I kind of like drew it right here just to estimate it, but we have a line we can't really see. We want to know what the slope of that line is. Well, if you remember from the video lesson the other day, the slope of that line, it can be found by using the slope formula. Now, looking at this picture I just drew, the slope definitely needs to be negative, right? Has to be negative. So if we get a positive answer, it means we did it wrong. So this is very easy to use. If you remember so don't look at this and be intimidated. If you remember every ordered pair, the left number is an x, the right number is a y. Okay, and so over here in the formula, we have a y1 and a y2 and an x1 and an x2. Well, the left number on both of these points are both x's. Okay, 8 is our first x, so we call that x1. 5 is our second x, we call that x2. Okay, and then -7 is our first y, so we call that y1. And then you can probably see where this is going. -3 is y2. Now, if you notice, these are all in certain places. All you have to do is put these in the place of where this goes. So y2 is going to be this -3, so we will put it first. So the slope is going to be -3 minus, okay, remember, it always has to be minus what is y1? Well, it's -7, so it's minus -7. Okay, so don't think that this minus over here is automatically this negative, because it's not. You have to put both of them. Okay, now that's over x2, which is 5. Okay, again, minus, what's x1? Well, it's 8, right? Okay, so -3 minus -7. That's really saying -3, if you remember. That's really saying -3 plus 7. So that's going to be +4 over 5 minus 8. That is -3. So we're almost done with this one. What we never want to do is leave just a negative in the denominator. You always move it up. Okay, so this is -4 over 3, which is a negative slope, so that means we did it correctly. Okay, now, again, I know I didn't leave all 6 of these on your homework, so if I'm doing ones that aren't on your homework, just fast forward through it and go to the ones that are on your homework. What I don't need you to do, though, is just write answers, okay? Because we have to understand how to do this, especially for when I get back and we take a test over it. So make sure you're listening to me explain it and everything. I know I'm being a little talkative. I'm going to try and finish this up really quickly. But just make sure you're kind of, I guess, absorbing the information. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. I've had several students email me over the past week. Please feel free to email me. Okay, so try and label these yourself. Well, we have x1, we have y1. Okay, that's always how you label it. And the second one is x2 and y2. Now, with the last one, I kind of like estimated what it would look like. You do not have to do that, but it's helpful if you wanted to. All right, so I'm not going to estimate this one. We're just going to straight up do the math for it. So again, we're trying to find slope here. So y2 minus y1, that's just going to be 11 minus 9. Okay, because it's y2 minus y1 over x2, which is 5, minus x1, well, that's -5, equals 11 minus 9 is 2, over 5 minus -5, again, remember, that means 5 plus 5, right? Minus a negative becomes a plus. Don't forget that from 7th grade. 2 over 10. Okay, now we've pretty much found our slope, but remember what I talked about on the front page. If we can simplify slope, let's do so. So 2 over 10 can really become 1 over 5. Now again, if these aren't on your page, don't do them. Okay, just fast forward to the ones that actually are. So x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, so y2 is -9 minus y1 is -4. Okay, so do not leave out any negatives or the minus or anything. We have to include all that or we'll get it wrong. So the bottom is x2, which is -4, minus x1, which is -8. Okay, -9 minus -4. Well, that's -5, right? Because that's really going to be plus. So -9 plus 4. Same deal here, plus. So -4 plus 8. Okay, that's going to be 4. Okay, and there's our slope. That can't be simplified. All right, so again, x1, y1, x2, y2. -8 minus, well, that's good, that's a positive 3, so just -8 minus 3. Over -6 minus, okay, don't forget the negative, -4. Equals, well, -8 minus 3 is going to be -11. Over -6 minus -4, okay, so plus, right? -6 plus 4 is going to be -2. Now, what's going on here? 2 negatives, we cannot leave that. Okay, we're not going to change the numbers, but 2 negatives cancel out, because remember, a fraction represents division. So if we're dividing a negative with a negative, it's really going to be positive. So we'll get 11 over 2. All right, so x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, 2 minus -1 over -7 minus -7. Okay, something's going to happen here. Let's see what happens. Well, 2 minus -1 is really just saying 2 plus 1. That's going to be 3. Over -7. Okay, minus negative again means, so -7 plus 7. What's that equal? Well, that is 0. Now, what this does not mean, this is not a slope of 0. Okay, that's not what this is. If you were to pick up a calculator and try to divide by 0, it would say error. And that's because if you have a slope with 0 on the bottom, you have an undefined slope. So in this case, it is undefined. Okay. And then lastly, x1, oops, sorry, that's y, x1 and y1, x2 and y2, 4 minus 4 over -6 minus 9. Okay. Okay, so 4 minus 4 is 0. Over -6 minus 9 is -15. Well, here, in this case, we do have a slope of, let me erase that, we do have a slope of 0. This one is not going to be undefined because the 0 is on top. The 0 is on bottom like this one right here, that is undefined, but this is a slope of 0. Okay, all right, so hopefully that helped out and made some sense. The next video lesson I make is hopefully going to kind of solidify this even more for you. Just make sure you bring this back and turn it in either Monday or Tuesday, depending on what day you have my class. All right, thank y'all. Y'all have a great day.